Welcome to Three Pasty White Guys. This is a podcast that focuses on what's going on today in the world of sports. I'm Tanner Castora. I'm joined by Dan Ludwig and Mike Merriman. We're three kids that grew up together in the same neighborhood. We're now off to college, and we decided to put together a podcast, talk about what's going on in sports. We're big sports fans, diehard sports fans. Today we want to focus on college football. We're going to talk about the college football playoff, if we agree or disagree with the Final Four teams. And the second topic we want to tackle is, should the playoff expand? So, all right, we'll start with the playoff. Letty, you can introduce your thoughts.
Well, I think the playoff committee got it right. I mean, four best teams made it, four most deserving teams made it. Don't really have any complaints.
I mean, I don't have any complaints here, but Tanner's looking like he's got something.
All right, okay. So, I'm fine with Alabama. I'm fine with Ohio State. I'm fine with Clemson. I have a problem with Washington.
How?
And listen,
Okay.
I haven't heard this said on TV. I haven't heard this said anywhere. Do you guys know what the Pac-12's best win out of conferences as a whole? I'm not talking about just Washington. Every team in their conference. Do you know what their best win is out of their conference?
I'm guessing it's not very good.
Probably.
It's from California, who beat Texas Tech.
Oof.
It's a joke.
Else?
I'm sorry.
But you can't hold that against Washington.
I'm sorry. Cal beat Texas. Well, no. That my point is okay.
Okay.
Then my other question for both of you is, it's really not an opinion. When I ask you, what is the best conference in college football this year?
Oh, Big Ten. No doubt.
Dan? Bloody? And do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so we all three agree the Big Ten is the best conference.
Yeah.
You just left out the champion of that conference. That doesn't make sense. Washington. But my point is, they didn't play.
You're hurting your own argument here, because here's what you end up doing, though. If you're going to be leaving out the champion of the Big Ten Conference, the team that should be left out would be Ohio State, who did not win
No.
I understand you saying that Washington isn't the best team. I think Washington gets their ass kicked by both Michigan, by Penn State, by Wisconsin. I think it's not even going to be a contest with Alabama and Washington. But at the end of the day, they did win, and they are one of the Power 5 conferences.
Okay.
In years past, it's been a very good conference.
So if you're we'll get to Ohio State in a second here.
Okay.
But we're comparing the team. What the committee said, it came down to Penn State and Washington, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Washington plays no one out of conference and only beat teams in their conference. No one in their conference beat anyone. I mean, it's because they got in over Penn State because they were 12-1 and Penn State was 11-2.
Yes.
But Penn State played two ranked teams out of conference. They played Temple and beat them, and they played Pittsburgh and they lost to them by 3. And then they won the best conference in football. I have a problem with them being left out. Not only that, they have 2 great wins. They beat number 7 Wisconsin and number 2 Ohio State. That's the best win of anyone. And you left them out? I mean,
I think you have to leave them out. You have to leave them out, though, because look, if you put Penn State in, then you're opening up a huge can of worms, because then you're saying, oh, okay, let's take a team that we probably all agree is better than Penn State, Michigan. You're leaving Michigan out in favor of Ohio State in this instance. I mean, Michigan could.
We beat Michigan.
I get that.
Ohio State beat Michigan,
but it was at Ohio State and it was in overtime.
But they won. It doesn't matter.
I get that. What I'm saying is that Michigan also went and kicked Penn State's ass. That wasn't even a game. They destroyed the Big Ten champion. And the Big Ten champion got in through tiebreakers because they beat Ohio State, yes, but all 3 of those teams had one loss in the Big Ten except for Michigan. So
okay, going with this, though. We were talking about Washington and Penn State.
I know. So what I'm saying, you can't put in Penn State without opening yourself up a giant can of worms. Then you can have Michigan saying, well, we should have been in there. We're a better team than Penn State. We beat Penn State. They were alleviating all of that argument by putting in a team who only had 1 blemish on their record.
So you're telling me the committee took the easy way out?
Yes, they took the easy way out, but that's in some.
No, they took the right way out. Penn State had two awful losses. Washington's only loss was to a
They
very
did
good
not have
USC
two awful
team.
lose.
Lost it.
They did not have
Getting
two
blown
awful
out by
losses.
40 to Michigan. That's an awful
That's
loss.
a bad loss, but Michigan's a great team. And then the Pitt loss
They
is
lost
not
by
a
40.
but it's a great team. And then the Pitt loss is not an awful loss. They're ranked and they lost by 3.
If
Yeah,
you're one
no,
of
I
the
don't
top
think-
4 teams in the country, you should not be losing by 40 points to anyone.
But okay. But then let's go back to 2014.
I think Tanner would
Ohio
come down to who's the most
Wait.
deserving. And at the end of the day,
But Penn State's more deserving than Washington. They definitely are.
at the end of the day,
That's my argument.
does have 2 losses, one of them by 40 points. Washington does not have that. And you can say, okay, the Pac-12 as a whole is a really bad conference. They don't have any good wins. They don't have that many good wins, and Washington has only beat teams from the Pac-12. Granted, but they still are 12-1.
But see, this is my problem. This is my problem with how I go against your argument. You're telling me that Penn State isn't deserving because they lost by 40. Okay, that I don't. But deserving. If I think of deserving, what have you done? Like the positive things you've done. They've done more impressive things than Washington has. But they've had higher highs than Washington has, but just not as many lows. Well, I'm gonna give more importance to those highs than the lows because Washington, the best team on their schedule they played, we know was USC, and they lost on their home field to the best team they played. They lost. Penn State beat number 2. Penn State beat number 7. It's ridiculous.
That was such a fluky win, though.
I don't care. They won.
Yeah.
But we just played Ohio State, Michigan. You said, well, Ohio State beat Michigan. That was Ohio State should not have won that game. It doesn't. Who cares? I don't care what should happen. They won. Washington has just the wins are just not there, and the out of conference is not there. They only got in because they're 12-1, and if they played Penn State's schedule, they're not 12-1. That's what makes me mad.
Yeah, okay, but they're giving the tip of a cap, their cap to Washington, who is 12-1, and you got to be honest. Look, the Pac-12 this year, agreed, is pretty bad, but it is still the Pac-12, and they have not always been bad. And who knows what happens in bowl season? Okay,
I think they should be.
Pac-12 goes into bowl season and ends up beating a lot of quality teams in the bowl season. What happens then? Then all of a sudden you're leaving a team that was 12-1, and you're like, well, the conference was weak, so we're not going to put them in, and they're 12-1, and then they go and the Pac-12 wins out. Let's say,
okay, Mike,
or they beat a lot of quality teams. Then all of a sudden next year rolls around. And they've made their lives more hellish.
Sure. You're right about that in the future and for next year, but you can't. But you're picking the playoff based on now, and the wins we've seen now have been awful by the Pac-12 and have been solid by the Big Ten. So maybe the Pac-12 will prove me wrong. They might, but from what they've shown this season, it's just not there.
I think they're setting a precedent. They're setting a precedent too, and I think what the committee is saying.
Play no one and just go win 12 games.
I don't think that's what they're saying. What they're saying is that if you win a Power 5 conference and you have 1 loss versus 2 losses, we'll give you the tip of the cap. But leads into the bigger question of like there should be a bigger playoff. You're leaving out 2 conference champions this year. 2.
Okay, before, no, you're leaving out 1. Oh, you're right. You're leaving 2. You're right. But anyways, before we get into should we expand? I just want to hear real quickly from you, Dan Ludwig. Give me your explanation. I haven't really heard your explanation of why Washington gets in over Penn State.
Washington has 1 loss. Penn State has 2. Penn State's schedule within the Big Ten really was not that good.
It's not their fault, though.
How's it not? It doesn't matter. They didn't play anyone in the Big Ten.
They beat 2 top 7 teams.
Besides that.
But Tanner, you just said though that Washington should get punished for not having a solid schedule.
No, out of conference schedule.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Who did Penn State play out of conference?
Penn State played Penn State. That's the same
That's
as Portland
garbage.
State. Yep.
It's garbage.
Same as Portland State with Washington. They played Pittsburgh, a top 25 team, and Temple, a top 25 team. Okay, they went
They're
two.
barely top 25 teams.
Idaho, Portland State, Rutgers, and you're gonna.
I agree with you. Washington's non-conference schedule is a joke.
Washington is going to get smacked, and if they do get smacked, then if this situation happens again next year, the Big Ten's getting in over them because Penn State's better.
I think that's, again, what the committee is going for is like, look, let it play out. If the Pac-12 gets embarrassed in the playoffs, which honestly they probably will, Alabama's probably going to romp all over them. But, like, if they get completely embarrassed, then, yeah, if that situation happens again next year, shit, I mean, you're going to want to put in another Big Ten team.
All right, guys, I got one more point about the 4 teams that got in. And this is – I'm not saying this team should have got in over Washington, but it definitely should have been – there's definitely an argument here. Oklahoma, okay? Oklahoma, manhandled by Houston, manhandled by Ohio State on their home field. They won out from there on, won their conference, okay? Washington had a better record and also won their conference. But Oklahoma went out and played a top 25 team in Houston. They went out and played a top 5 team in Ohio State. Now, they lost, sure, but they went out and played them, and Washington didn't. So if Washington has Oklahoma's schedule, are they going to beat Houston and Ohio State? Maybe Houston. I don't think Ohio State. So why is Oklahoma – why are they so far behind Washington, who didn't schedule anyone? I mean, what's message is that sending?
I think part of what the committee is saying is that we want to see a conference championship game, but I also do believe that this is a perfect tie-in again to the expansion thing, because what the message is sending is that while you have 2 losses, you did lose to Houston, you did lose to Ohio State. I agree with you that like they deserve to be recognized for actually going out and scheduling those games above Washington. But okay, and here's something. Okay, as a college football coach, you want your team to win the national championship, right? We're not sitting here saying Washington played cupcake teams so that they could just make it to the playoff, and then get shellacked by Alabama, right? They want to win. We agree that they want to go and win the national championship.
Yeah.
Right? So as a coach, if you want to go and beat Alabama, you're going to want your team to be battle-tested. Okay? So I think a playoff in its essence will end up spurring coaches on to scheduling harder games, not just for the sake of getting into the playoff, but also for the sake of being able to go, and when you get into the playoff and have to go face an Alabama or Ohio State or Clemson, being able to actually compete with those teams. Because it's doing no service to the Washington team. I mean, scheduling easy out-of-conference games does them no service.
Well, you need difference in most instances. Like, Ohio State doesn't make it, I don't think, unless they go and beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma. If you take that win away, I don't think you could put them in over Penn State.
No, you're right. But you just said, Mike, you said it serves them, doesn't serve them well. They need to be more battle-tested. I mean, that's not what the AD is thinking, because they just played no one, and now they're getting a huge paycheck for beating no one.
I'm saying I'm not.
They don't care.
What I'm saying is from a coach's perspective. The coach is sitting in that room with the athletic director and saying, "Okay, who should we play?" I would believe that coaches would want to play some quality opponents, like Alabama, like Oklahoma, like Ohio State, like those teams do every single year by scheduling a tough out-of-conference opponent. I would think that a coach would be more inclined to want to do that, to test his guys early on, if you have more playoff spots. If you know as a coach that you can slip up.
But you don't. We're talking about 4 teams. So
but in Washington's defense, these schedules are made years in advance, and there's no way they thought they would have been this good this quickly under Chris Peterson.
I agree, but I just that doesn't mean you get a pass. Like, I don't know. It upsets me that Penn State, who is Penn State is more deserving. Without question in my eyes, didn't get it over them, and then it upsets me that Oklahoma, who goes and plays the big boys and loses, gets punished for it. But whatever. All right, we'll move on now.
Look, it upsets me too. I believe that they got it right by putting Washington in, but I don't necessarily agree with it completely.
All right. Okay, moving on to the next topic, and I got something that that literally will prove you guys wrong. But all right, our next topic, we had a pretty large group text argument about this earlier today. Should college football expand the playoff? Dan, lead us off.
I think they should. You want every conference champion to be represented. Just take the 5 conference champions. You want the group of 5 to feel like they're included, so I would take the best group of 5 team.
Okay.
2 at-large teams, the next 2 best teams.
So you want 8
teams.
Yes,
I want 8.
Okay, Mike, go ahead.
I mean, I definitely want 8. I agree with Dan. I think you take the 5 Power 5 conference champions. I think it's good for football to be able to recognize group of 5. I think if you don't put in – if you have a playoff and you never put in an undefeated group of 5 school, I mean, it's kind of sending a message of why the hell are we even playing? And then then you put the 2 best at-large teams from the Power 5 schools into the playoff.
Okay. All right. Well, I 100% disagree with everything you guys just said, and I will tell you why right now, and I don't know how you're about to disagree with what I'm going to say.
Okay.
I'm sure we will.
You cannot move college football to an 8-team playoff system. Here is why. 4 is enough. All right. It's now 14. It's a 14 playoff system.
Yeah.
The regular season already doesn't mean as much as it used to. And I'll give you an example for that. Earlier this season, Ohio State lost to Penn State. Now, as you guys know, I'm a very big Ohio State fan. When we lost to Penn State, I didn't care because I knew if we won out, we would have a chance to win the national championship. 3 years ago, we lost to Penn State. Oh, that's devastating. Now, I don't know if we're gonna make it. So listen. So this year, that proves right there, and Ohio State did make it in. That proves that the regular season has already lost some importance. Now, how about this? Now we move to 8 teams. Okay, Mr. Dan Lubbock, I have a question for you. You attended the Ohio State-Michigan game, didn't you?
I did.
How was that game? Just sum it up in one word for me.
It was very nerve-wracking, very intense.
It was incredible, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Okay. Well, guess what? If you move to an 8-team playoff, that game doesn't mean a thing because both teams are in. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. You ruin college football if you go to 8 teams. That game means nothing. They're both in. We damn well know it. No. Both teams, Ohio State and Michigan, whoever wins or loses that game, double overtime, 30-27. Urban Meyer falling on the ground after they won. Harbaugh freaking out in the press conference after. Everything, that game, it means nothing because they're both in, win or lose. It doesn't matter. And then not only that, no, don't give me that scenario. That could happen almost every year with your powerhouses. Urban Meyer and Jim Harbaugh, they're powerhouses. It can happen every single year. It can happen every single year for a bunch of games. The importance is totally gone. USC or Wisconsin, they're ranked 8th and 9th. They have 3 freaking losses, would both be in the playoff. They would be in. But we're based off the committee's ranking right now, the top 8 teams. A 3-loss team is making it.
They would not be in. No, they wouldn't.
No, because the rankings – okay, first of all, the rankings would look different. Second of all, the Ohio State –
time out.
USC and Wisconsin would not be in.
No. Oh, really? Because based off what you just said, the 5 teams who won their Power 5 conferences. So then we put in – wait. So we put in Oklahoma and we put in Penn State.
Penn State,
okay.
Alabama.
Right. Well, Penn State and Oklahoma didn't make the playoff this year, but they're still ranked in the top 8.
Yeah.
So the rankings. So keep Wisconsin at 8, and then you say you put in a Power 5 team.
No, you put in a group of 5 team. You put in Western Michigan.
No.
Yes.
The top 2 at-large teams would be Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah.
USC and Wisconsin won't be in.
So, but you have to understand though that the Power 5, a non-Power 5 team will not get an automatic bid if it moves to 8.
Listen. Okay, this is what I'm saying.
I feel like it should.
First of all, I think the rankings and the committee, when they're in those rooms, the rankings are going to change. To your point about, because your big point was that it would make the regular season less.
It would. It's a fact. It's not an opinion. It's a fact.
Okay. You said that one of your examples was that Penn State and Ohio State, you weren't worried about it after Ohio State lost.
Oh,
now you cannot tell me. Hold up. You cannot tell me if you go back to the BCS automatic system, which was huge when it came to out of conference big out of conference games that Ohio State scheduled Oklahoma, right? You cannot tell me that Ohio State wouldn't be above one-loss Clemson in the BCS system. I completely believe that Ohio State, who had many more quality wins than a Clemson team, who really at the end of the day only had 2 quality wins against Florida State and against Louisville, is going to be in over Ohio State.
But that's not the point. The point is we need
an 18 playoff.
No, the point.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that he's saying that the 4 team has already ruined the playoff.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it ruined it. I said it's taken away importance of it. And Mike, it has. Your example of Clemson. Well, guess what? Ohio State needed Clemson to lose, and they did lose. If we're in the BCS, we would have Clemson lose. Well, they lost. That's why we got to number 2. But if they didn't lose, we wouldn't have made it in the BCS. Okay, we had teams. If it's the BCS this year and Ohio State loses to Penn State, well, then Ohio State needs a lot of help. But now we needed no help. All we had to do was win, and we made it. It's not the regular season. It's not as important.
The regular season.
I don't think it takes
would be lessened, but I feel like the benefits of the playoff would outweigh the negatives.
I don't even think the regular season would be lessened at all.
No, it's a fact it would.
Okay.
Ohio State,
just look at
Michigan game would mean nothing.
Okay,
how am I wrong?
If you had lost to Penn State in a BCS system, okay, without the 14 playoff, okay, you lose to Penn State and you're like, oh, whoa, and Clemson doesn't lose, all right?
We're not getting in.
You go to the Michigan-Ohio State game, okay, this year. Say Clemson doesn't lose their game against Pitt, and you go to that, you go in and you're facing Ohio State versus Michigan in a BCS system. All of a sudden, that game doesn't mean anything. Again, doesn't mean anything. You have 2 teams with 1 loss, and it doesn't mean a thing.
How does it not mean a thing? It means that if Clemson then loses that week or the next week, then we're in.
Yeah, but at the time, it doesn't mean anything.
How
it doesn't? Because Tanner,
it does.
If Ohio State beats Michigan this year, okay, it means a whole ton. But
yeah, it was a playing game to the playoff. It was huge. Listen, the importance with the 14 playoff of the regular season is not as important as it used to be, but it's still important. I like the 14 playoff. If you go to 8, dude, it's a joke. It's a joke. Dude, USC and Wisconsin are right. Listen, your system is not how the system would be. I'm sorry. I'm not saying I disagree with your system or anything, but that's not how it would be. There would be no automatic bid for a non-Power 5 school. Sorry, there wouldn't be. So USC or Wisconsin is getting in.
Yeah, why have the 5 conferences? What's
if they're not going to get a bid, then the Big 5 conferences should just break off and do their own thing.
Then maybe go let them. I mean, that they can, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but it adds something. What I think people see is that it adds.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but that's not going to happen. You texted me earlier saying it would help the business.
It does.
Mike, do you think anyone is going to watch Alabama versus Western Michigan? I love college football. I don't even think I'll watch that game. If you give me Alabama,
why I don't think they would have put them at number 8. I think they would have put them at number 7 against Clemson, who has stumbled.
I still wouldn't watch the game.
You can't justify. They would definitely be number 8.
You shouldn't.
Exactly. Okay, that's great. You're one of very few people. If you say Alabama USC, that might be the most watched game of the playoff.
What if they beat?
That already happened this year. Alabama destroyed them.
Exactly. So that should mean something. So how the hell could that team get in the freaking playoff?
Dude, I would not watch USC versus Alabama.
Guess what? The ratings.
I don't
Ratings
think
would double.
if they had an 18 playoff, I don't think USC would necessarily be in with 3 losses.
Are you kidding me? They want them. They were talking about putting them in the 14 playoff.
You just said how horrible
I think that
Pac-12 was, and now you're saying that USC.
Timeout. I'm not saying I want USC in. You're getting it twisted. I don't want USC in. I'm telling you what would happen.
Okay. So let me
They would be in.
Let me explain what I was saying about it would be better for the business of college football earlier. Okay, there is an article that I sent you, the Outside the Lines.
But you have to explain to the people of what you mean. I already know what you're talking about.
I sent them earlier in the group text a article from Outside the Lines by Paula Levine about the finances of Group of Five versus Power Five schools. And in the Outside the Lines article, it was talking about how the Group of Five schools struggle. They are in the red almost every single year. Most of the schools in the Group of Five are struggling. In fact, many of them are considering closing their doors to college football.
And why is that, Mike?
Because they can't make enough money. The schools actually stuck to their money.
Okay. Exactly.
No, because no one really cares about it.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. And nobody. Exactly. Which is why nobody cares. Nobody cares about it. Therefore, they're losing money.
So if they're playing Alabama, people are going to care to watch the game?
Now listen. No, listen for a second. So, and meanwhile, of course, everybody knows the Power Five schools are making hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay. You take a Western Michigan and you put them into the playoffs. Just by the mere fact that a Group of Five school, by going undefeated and having a great season, can make it into an 18 playoff, that automatically makes the Group of Five schools, their regular seasons, matter more. They matter.
That money would go to the conferences too, so that would help the MAC.
It would help the MAC. It would help the Mountain West. It would help all those schools.
It would help them.
You're clapping very sarcastically, but at the end of the day, the NCAA is a business, and if they can make their their business stronger, they would want to do that. And by putting in and by making the Group of Five regular seasons matter more, they're going to get more fan attendance. They will garner more excitement about the Group of Five regular season games than they do already.
Do you actually believe everything you just said?
Yes.
If you're talking about the business of it,
you think the geniuses of the NCAA haven't thought about that?
Geniuses.
they're a bunch of morons, but.
No. If they could actually make more money doing that, they would do it. But that's not going to make them more money than a USC versus.
If you're talking about the business, the money comes from the TV deals. Having the small teams in the playoff is bad for TV. Not many people watch.
Exactly. So they're not going to give that team an automatic bid. That's insane to think.
In the long run, it would be more beneficial because continuing what I was trying to say is that if the Group of Five seasons matter more in the long run, if it continued and you had schools from the Group of Five make it in, and you have one of those teams win even one game? Okay, and the regular season start to count more, the TV deals will start rolling in for those schools, which also means that those regular season TV deals mean a whole lot. The MAC has one with ESPN, and it's a ton of money.
It's not that much money. It's not that much money in the grand scheme of things.
And I asked,
it's not at all. It helps the MAC. It doesn't help the NCAA.
If it helps the MAC, then it ends up helping the NCAA.
But the NCAA makes more money putting their money somewhere else. But, Luddy, I have a question for you, my man. What happened many years ago with the powerful Hawaii team with Colt Brennan? Do you remember what happened when they played in the Sugar Bowl? Do you remember?
Yeah, they got.
They got absolutely smoked.
Oh, okay,
Man,
that's right.
They came up with some big wins. Boise State had some big wins.
But they got destroyed. Am I right?
Hawaii got destroyed. Yeah.
Okay. What about those?
You're leaving out the fact that.
Wait. What about those powerful teams of the MAC and Jordan Lynch in Northern Illinois? What happened when they got a big bowl game? What happened?
Okay, I call your Northern Illinois and I raise you Utah beating Alabama when they were in the Mountain
They're in
West.
the Pac-12.
They weren't then.
They weren't then. They were in the Mountain West at the time.
What? They're in the Pac-12.
They weren't.
They weren't at the time.
They got in the Pac-12 in large part because they had those great seasons with Urban Meyer, and they went and they beat Alabama.
but they're in the Pac-12. Like, they were that type of program.
Now they are.
I feel like being on the big stage enhanced their program brand, which allowed them to go to the Pac-12.
I am not saying I don't like your idea. I think it'd be fun as hell. I root for the little guy. But all I'm saying is you want an 18 playoff, and then you think by saying, oh, we got 18 playoffs that the little guy gets a spot. That's just not happening. Like, that's not happening at all.
Where they have to be ranked like in the top 15 or something, so you don't have just like garbage teams in.
You're not going to be throwing in a 12-1 team. You're not even going to be throwing an 11-1 team. You're going to be throwing in an undefeated group of 5 school. And if there is no undefeated group of 5 school that's going to be able to garner some attention, then you don't throw them in. Okay,
and listen, I'm not even saying that's a bad idea. I'm really not. I'm just telling you that there's a 13-0 Western Michigan team who won their conference and is not from a Power 5 conference, and they have zero shot of making it an 18 playoff. It's not happening. They're ranked 15th. They're not even close.
Tanner, I think the rankings would change if it moved to an 18 playoff. I think the committee would end up – no, I'm saying I think the committee would end up putting in Western Michigan. And so
no, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. If it was the top 8 teams, they would not.
It's not a chance.
The only way they would get in is if they were guaranteed a spot.
Exactly. I'm not saying your idea is wrong, but if you actually think that's happening, you're wrong. It's just not. It's not happening. So by asking for 18 playoff, you're not going to get that. It's not happening.
I mean,
they're ranked 50. They're 13-0 and they're 15th. They're not even close. There's 3 lost teams way ahead of them. They're not getting in. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but they're not. So a 3-loss team is getting in an 18 playoff. A 3-loss team is.
Well, if they just took the top 8 teams, you would be right.
Yeah, but I just think the rankings change.
I know, but that's what they're going to do.
Changing those rankings.
Okay.
They changed the rankings this week.
Oh my God!
It's above Ohio State. Come on, dude.
It's Western Michigan. They're not getting in. That's a great thought there. They're not getting in. Like, it's not going to happen. You're flipping Clemson, Ohio State, and then you're going to throw a MAC team who beat Northwestern by 1 point. They're not sniffing the playoff. Dan wants an 18 playoff, but he even knows that. It's not happening. A 3-loss team's getting in. And does that not mean the regular season is just it's nothing anymore? You can lose 52-6, lose 2 more games, and you got a shot to win it all.
No, if you don't put in a group of 5 school, I think, you are making the regular season count for nothing, because now you're giving half of college football 0 reason to play their games.
Exactly. That's my point. So that's what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
But that's what's going to happen.
What I'm saying is that if you move to an 18 playoff, they'd have to give an out. Yeah, I mean, it is a tricky situation.
I feel like they should, but
yeah, no, I think they should, but I when you look at it, I don't know if they really would if they moved to an 18 playoff. I don't know if they actually would.
I think there's.
I mean, the team. Go ahead.
There's a greater chance of the Power 5 conferences splitting up and doing their own thing than them giving a bid to the little guy, probably.
Yeah, it's just like it's not. But the thing is though that you have to see, you don't even necessarily need an automatic bid. Look at Houston. Yeah. Now, if Houston goes undefeated, and they could have made the 14 playoff. They surely would be in the 18 playoff. You don't need an automatic bid.
Okay.
If you're worthy, you're worthy. They beat Oklahoma. Western Michigan is not even, and that's why they're 15. They're not even close. Like they'd have no shot at making it with 8 teams. That's why you can't give them an automatic bid. That's crazy.
I mean, I guess so, but you're really hurting. I just feel like you're hurting the brand of college football, even with the 4-team playoff. And I agree with you that the regular season seems to count for a little bit less now with the 4-team playoff.
But it's still fun.
It is. It's a blast. But
18. What do you think 18 does?
I get that it hurts. Okay, so let me ask you this: if the Power 5 were to break off, and now you don't have cupcake games, right?
No, I don't want that. And that's not what's going to happen.
I know.
I think it's closer than
Yeah, I think it's close.
people would like to realize.
Yeah. I think the group of 5 at some point is going to have to face reality, and there will be a lot of schools that are going to be closing the doors. South Alabama did it. There's other schools that have been thinking about doing it.
But you guys, a
money,
team just
then you're going to end up closing your doors. And if group of 5 schools, the vast majority of them are losing money each year, and the MAC is, I think when I read that, the MAC is the only group of 5 conference that is making money because of their deal with ESPN, as small as it is. That is what is making them money. If that's going to be the way it is, how do group of 5 schools keep their doors open? How do they keep their fields open, their teams going?
They do, because that's why they play. Like, you realize,
They make money. It's their school. It's not like it's not like the NCAA gives them money at the end of the year.
No. This is how they get their money, Mike. Kent State played Alabama this year. Kent State got $1.5 million from Alabama to come play them. That's how the school survives. That's how it goes around.
Their expenses each year are above $10 million. It's not in just like a couple $1 million a year. It costs a lot of money to field a football team.
There's no doubt, but I don't understand what you're trying to argue.
$1 million is trying to get them from going into the red. That's what it's doing. It's not them money.
But Houston
from losing.
Houston just showed everyone you can make it into the playoff this year. You just have to go play someone. So, and the schools like Kent State and Miami, Ohio, get a chance. They play Iowa. They play Alabama. You have a chance to beat those teams. You're playing them.
Yeah, but
you just have to beat them.
That's not going to make you more money. You have a Houston team.
No. You're not saying if they win out, they're in the playoff, and then there's their money. What am I missing?
Okay, yes, but Houston is in that conference, that American Conference, which is like that weird middle ground conference right now. That it is not.
It's no better than the MAC.
They are. It's way better than the MAC.
Yeah, it's a million times better than the MAC.
Come on now. It's right there. It's them and
isn't Navy in that conference? Temple,
Navy, Temple, Houston.
Okay, they're better, but it's not like a huge difference.
Yeah, but those are okay. What I'm saying is those are the schools that are making bids, and there's Colorado State is another school who's putting a lot of money. Again, in that Outside the Line article, Colorado State is just putting a ton of money into their team in the hope that they get invited to a Power 5 school, and then they've made it, just like Utah did. So here's the question: if you're not willing to do that, and there's only so many spots in Power 5 conferences, there's only so many spots.
And they could just keep expanding.
And Tom Herman, in large part, left for Texas because the Big 12 opted to not offer Houston the spot in the Pac-12, in the Big 12.
No, that's not right.
That's a small reason why I left. But okay, anyways, whatever. So now what I'm hearing from both of you is it really comes down to them. Do you guys want to help the little guy and really take away from what college football used to be, or keep it fun and great and basically the college football we've grown up with? Do you want it a lot less, but the little guy gets helped out?
No, my ideal is that Power 5 schools break off. The Power 5 conferences break off. You offer some of those schools that are on the fringe spots in the Power 5 conferences, and then you break off. You can no longer schedule cupcake games. You're not scheduling cupcake games. The regular season is now much more intense, and you have a 14 playoff. I think it would all work itself out in that way, because now all of a sudden you don't have a Washington team who can go and play cupcake teams. They're going to have to play some big teams, and they'll probably have 2 losses and not make them.
No, because if there's super conferences, there'd be teams with all the time up top.
Wait, Mike, you just went from saying you want an 8-team playoff with a little guy in automatic bid, and now you're saying you want a 14 playoff where the big schools break off from the little guy. You just did like more than a 180. You just did like a 540. You just flipped everything you just argued. What just happened? I don't even know what to say with that. I don't even know what to say.
I was a little heated there. I might have said things without.
I don't. Oh my gosh! If anyone ever listens to this podcast, like, they'll probably get a laugh out of that one. But
Mike arguing passionately for the little guy for 15 minutes and immediately throwing him under the bus.
What was? I can. You are something else. But
the regular season is not a joke if you give the conference champions a bid.
Then
you wouldn't have 4 teams for the Big Ten in the playoffs.
Listen to what you're saying. If you want the conference champion to get a bid, it doesn't mean shit who you play out of conference. The first 4 weeks of college football are meaningless.